Hey everyone, Altron here, and welcome to the 5th episode of the Sword and Shield season of Every Monster, Every Weapon, and today we'll be talking about all 3 of the typical monsters that you'll find in the Rotten Vale. Those 3 monsters include the Radobaan, the Odogaron, and the Great Girros. If you haven't already, check out all of the other episodes of Every Monster, Every Weapon, where I showcase the Sword and Shield tactics that I've found successful against other monsters in Monster Hunter World. I will leave a card at the top of the video for easy access. Otherwise, let's get into these monsters. The first monster in the lineup is the Radobaan, which in all honesty is just an armored potato that will help prepare you for its much more dangerous cousin, the Odogaron. Radobaan is only really challenging when it's fully armored and blade bounces are common. But with enough repeated strikes, the bone armor will break and the Radobaan will be easy to defeat. For Sword and Shield users, the goal against Radobaan is to stay on top of the monster as often as possible using shield strikes to assist in breaking parts off the monster. Since these attacks can't be deflected, it makes it easier to break parts. Attack the head when you can to deal KO damage, and go for the tail when possible as well, since it could be severed and it limits Radzy's range on its tail swipe ability. Don't feel intimidated at first when the majority of your attacks bounce off the target. The bone armor doesn't have a high health pool before it breaks, so eventually you'll break most of the monster's parts and attacking it will be simple enough. There are only 3 abilities that I would warn you of with Radzy, but they are incredibly easy to avoid even if you aren't paying the greatest of attention. First is its roll ability. Radobaan rolls around the zone and tries to hit you to deal a fair amount of damage. The Radobaan is clumsy and often will stumble while rolling, so if you or a cat hit the Radobaan while it's stumbling, you'll topple him for free shots. You can also pop Radzy out of the roll by hitting it with any kind of red slinger ammo, or scatter nut that you pick up from the start of the map by the first camp. The Radobaan has a powerful chin smash that hits really hard but is pretty easy to avoid. Try to move to the back of the monster when this happens, but also be aware that this deals a tremor status effect, and can cause you to stumble if you get hit by the tremor, so it's best to keep your distance until you're used to the area of the tremor's effect. Finally, it has a noxious sleep gas ability that it charges up and shoots in a small area around the monster's body. It deals no damage, but it will put you to sleep if it hits you, which usually ends up with the Radobaan rolling right over the top of you. But it might also mean that you get hit with the chin of death, so you need to be careful. It has a large wind-up time, so it's easy to avoid, but it's also easy to miss if you get too focused on damaging the monster instead of watching it. So keep an eye on Radzy every now and then, and you should be fine. Normally I would advise you to avoid the shield slam unless you have a clean shot at the head, but in this unique circumstance, you can use the shield slam ability as often as you like to assist in breaking parts of the bone armor. Unless you're trying for a mount, in which case the shield slam can't initiate a mount. We'll let the video finish rolling and move on to arguably the true apex predator of both the Vale and the Highlands. The second monster highlighted in this video is the inside-out dog himself, the Odogaron. Much like the Tobi-Kadachi, the Odogaron boasts lightning-fast attacks that can hit pretty hard if you get caught unaware. The monster is very weak to paralysis, and I recommend that you utilize this weakness until you learn to predict its movements. Additionally, the small Gyros in the area deal paralysis-type attack damage when they land a hit, and will generally prioritize attacking the Odo over the hunter. So it will pay off if you can avoid killing the little Gyros in the crossfire, since they will help you stack paralysis damage for free shots on the Odo. With the Sword and Shield, you should try to position yourself to the side of Odogaron, since he doesn't have any sideswipe abilities to hit you there. Odo has many weak spots that can be broken, so attacking anywhere is fine, but KO damage to the head is best, since that'll tire the monster out, and it tends to tire itself out quite often anyways. Odo is the only monster in the game so far that afflicts players with bleed. In order to remove the bleed, the player needs to crouch by pressing the X button down while holding still. Stay motionless for about 5 seconds. Any of Odo's claw abilities will cause the bleed, so it's important to avoid standing directly in front of this monster if possible, since that's how it slashes. Odo can also scale walls and use them as a springboard to launch itself at you and deal quite a bit of damage. So when you notice it jumping up to a wall, start running and be ready to roll. Quite often you'll find yourself fighting Odo in the effluvia, or the gas that fills the Vale. It's important to deal with the gas if you can, since it deals ticking damage to you, and if you let enough effluvia stack on you, it will reduce your total health by 50%, which can be devastating against this monster. Miasma gems or effluvia resistant armor will help. In addition, firing torch pods at the ground, which will cause the effluvia to disperse for a short time. Odo is a tough matchup for most weapons, for players who aren't used to fighting monsters with that kind of speed, but with enough practice, you'll be able to clear it quick and easy. Next up, the Great Girros. The third and final monster in this video is the Great Girros. The Great Girros can be difficult for players who have trouble prioritizing enemies or being able to control adds and groups of enemies. The Great Girros in and of itself isn't a difficult monster to beat. The problem lies with all of the environmental effects and adds that the monster comes with. Dealing with the effluvia is the first step, either by means of Torch Pod or with effluvia resistance. But dealing with the effluvia is one of the most important things you can do to make yourself successful against the Great Girros. The next step is understanding that this monster can summon groups of adds that will spawn in and aid the monster in the fight. Each of these adds hits with a paralysis effect, which can paralyze you, obviously. The Great Girros' goal is to have you paralyzed, because once you're paralyzed, the monster can body slam you, dealing heavy damage. Also keep in mind that while you're paralyzed, the small Girros attacks won't always wake you up, so you'll take additional damage based on all the little Girros hitting you and the big Girros body slamming you, and that can add up to a lot of damage at any given time. Dealing with these adds tends to be troublesome for the Sword and Shield since there isn't a way to deal a lot of damage quickly to enemies in an area. So you should kill the adds as quickly as possible, but try to position yourself where the Great Girros is between you and the adds, if possible, killing any that trickle onto your side of the boss monster. For the Sword and Shield, you should prioritize the head with the shield above all else to begin, since breaking the monster's head will destroy its hood, preventing it from calling in further reinforcements. The only ability that you should be aware of is the Acid Spit ability. This spit is fairly easy to avoid but can be easy to miss in the chaos of the fight, particularly if you're dealing with the small monsters while the Great Girros launches it at you. This spit is an instant paralysis and you should try to keep an eye out wherever possible. Otherwise, enjoy the video and good luck out there. Hey everyone, thanks for watching episode 5 of Every Monster, Every Weapon, SnS Rotten Vale Edition. If you liked the video, consider leaving a like, subscribe for more, and check out my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/altronsfu, Tuesday through Saturday, 12 to 3 a.m. Mountain Time. Also feel free to leave a comment down below of your tips for finding these monsters with the weapons featured in these videos, or if you have questions, leave them in the comment section below and I'll answer them as quickly as I can. Otherwise, happy hunting!